Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here at Star Cottage Studio in the Bead Room. Hopefully, you all are having a good start to your week. It's been busy, busy, busy here as we get ready for Tucson, and I'm getting ready to go to a conference this weekend coming up. A lot to do, a lot to do. And also the Great Beat Extravaganza coming up soon this weekend, also. So hopefully you all will join us for that. We're super excited. We've been working, getting everything ready for that. So hopefully you all are doing well. If you're watching, let me know that you're tuning in. Say hi and where you're from. It's always nice to see where people are tuning in from. Um, so I have a meeting directly after this, so I'm going to need some help. Um, Somebody's going to have to let me know when it is about 6 o'clock or so. The meeting's at 6:15, so I've got to do that because it's a kind of it's our monthly meeting for the TGBE presenters, and yeah, we have a lot to do tonight. So, yeah. All right. I see a couple of people have tuned in. Teresa's watching. Hey, Teresa. Suzanne is watching. Hi, Suzanne. Fran is watching. Hi, Fran. Norma's watching. Hello, Norma. Marianne's watching. Hi, Marianne. Julie's watching. Hey, Julie. Um, Sep 3663 is watching. Hey, Sep 3663. They're tuning in from Pennsylvania. We're in Pennsylvania. And Teresa's also watching. And Robin, hey Robin. If you're going to Tucson, let me know. We are going to be doing, and when I say we, it's me, Cynthia, and Azalea. We are going to be at the Whole Bead Show. And then we're going to do a pop up shop, I think, with Beads of Courage. I just need to get confirmation on that. And then we're doing a new show, a brand new show. It's the SNAG, the Society of North American Goldsmiths, which is a little bit of a misnomer, but it's our first time being in Tucson, and we're super excited for that. It's at the Whistle Stop. Let me know if you're going to be going to Tucson because I'd love to see you if you're going to be there. I think it'll be a lot of fun to meet people in real life. If I don't hug, don't get offended because I'm not a touchy person anyway. I don't like to touch a lot. And then also, I've been hearing people are getting coming down with stuff. So Tucson in general is the time of the germing, the great germing. So yeah, if I don't want to rub my body on your body, don't be offended. Um, Teresa said, "Oh, June's watching. Hey, June. Teresa, so happy for your trip. I'm happy for it in theory. It's a I know that once we get on the road and start going, it will be fine. Um, but it's kind of this time before where it's a little bit hectic, and by a little bit, I mean like a lot. Like we had to go and get our hotel, which was a little bit I kind of feel like whenever I'm searching for a place to stay, it's almost like Boggle. You know that game where you shake it and you try to find words and stuff? It's like that crossword. And I kind of feel like that's the way it is when I'm looking for hotels or places to stay. And it's always like, oh, well, maybe if I try putting the search engine like this, maybe it will come up with like this. Or if I check on Airbnb or if a Priceline or if I can see if I can stay with a friend or it's just one of those things where it's like constantly trying to like fiddle it so that we can get it. And we had to get the hotel. And let me just tell you, that credit card is like, it's like touching the top. So in theory, I should be having a sale to help alleviate the pressure. But we'll see if I can get that done before I have to leave. I'm leaving on Thursday, so that doesn't leave me much time. Uh, Sandra's watching. Hey, Sandra. Robin says, yes, I'm hoping to drive down a few of the days. I got a wholesale license this year. Congratulations, Robin. I hope I get to see you. That'll be fun. Amanda's watching. Hey, Amanda. Faith says, my dream trip. Yeah, it's fun once you get going. It's just the lead up. One of these days, me and Cynthia, we were fantasizing about, we're like, what would it be like if we didn't have to work? Picture it in your mind. What would it be like? Like, we love to shop. And so that would be fun to just go for a shopping trip. But what would it be like if we didn't have to like stress out and work until we're about to pass out right before the show every year? She's actually doing pretty well, and it's kind of chill. William is staying back. He's holding down the fort down here. One of our helpers ended up having to switch to a different job. So they are no longer with us, so we're short staffed. And then Barnaby, he's got his lung issues and stuff. And so we want to make sure that one of us is close to home with him. And it's a long trip. So I think I'm going to be gone almost a month. And if I did it the way I had planned it originally, I would have been gone for almost 2 months, which blows my mind because I can't even leave can't even go to the bathroom hardly without having to go to a meeting, let alone being gone for that long. It used to be when I was younger and more carefree and didn't have any responsibilities, I could leave for months on end and it wouldn't be a problem. But now it's a little bit trickier because we've got multiple properties to look after and each of us has to pull our weight. So, but I'm still gonna be gone for a month. Hopefully, we'll get to do some fun stuff. We always try to make it fun. Sometimes I've been on trips, and it's all work and only work, and it's very exhausting, and it's not very fun. But there are times when we do like fun stuff, like go on hikes or take time to explore the city and or be leisurely about the drive instead of like frantically pushing. And I prefer that. I feel like the desert's very healing and it's very like there's a part of me that feels like I don't know, I was born in the desert, and so part of me is always kind of like, I don't know, missing the desert. Um, which is weird because I also love the ocean, but anyways. And now I don't live near either the desert or the ocean. So, but I love where we live too. Marianne says, doing great, Amanda. Facebook user says, hi, Andrew. Will not be able to join you in Tucson, unfortunately. Looking forward to having a beach show in Milwaukee again this summer. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to do that one yet or not. In theory, we might. It just depends on the timing. I usually in the summer times, it used to be we went to Bead and Button every year, and our whole kind of year revolved around Tucson and Bead and Button. And then when that went away, I started doing more with Touchstone Center for Crafts and taking classes. So summertime is kind of my class time. So I don't know if I have a conflict with that or not. But maybe. You never know. I might try to go if even if we don't exhibit, but we'll see. I don't know if there's room or not. Um and that's in June, so it seems like forever away. Um Robin says, I will find you guys. Yeah, so we're going to be at all new places except for Beads of Courage. Um, so the whole beach show is going to be at the Annabelle Studio, and the Snag show is at the Whistle Stop. And Beads of Courage is going to be um, at the headquarters there. Make sure to bring fancy cowboy boots because I think it's cowboy boot themed. Um, you'll have to go to their website for more details on that. It's a great cause. If you don't know what Beads of Courage is, they help children and families facing serious illness um, with telling their stories and healing through creativity. So hopefully, if you aren't familiar with Beads of Courage, you check them out because they're a wonderful organization. And Jean, who is in charge of it, she's an amazing person. And like I can't even talk about it without getting choked up because they do such good things in our community. Faith says, "Oh, the problems when we grow up." It's true. It's true. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. Maybe one day I'll have less things to do, but we'll see. Man says, "Hopefully you can do a live from there so we can see you." Yeah, usually I do more lives when I'm on the road. Because I just like whip my phone out and I'm like, oh, there's cell service, so let's do a live. And one year we did a live all the way, not like the whole time because that's like 4 days worth of filming, and also like not that exciting. But we would stop along the way. Like we did a live from White Sands National Park. Um, we went hiking one day before the show, and we did a live from the top of a mountain, which was pretty cool. Um, so there, so we'll take you around. Also, I like for everybody to get the kind of experience of it, especially people who can't go, because I think it's a really unique and amazing place, and there's a lot of really wonderful people. So hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk to some of them while we're there. I'm trying to figure out like what the best angle is for this, but I don't think that's going to happen. And if I seem like I'm a little bit spaced out, it's because I have been working a lot. William showed them yesterday, was the first wave of them, and my portraits from the other side. And I have more coming out, I want to say tonight, but it's probably going to be tomorrow because I have a meeting directly after this, and I don't know how much work I'm going to get done on those. But I'm super excited. I'm pretty pleased with how they turned out. Any of those purchases help go towards funding our trip. We just dropped $1,500 on a hotel, which is like a steal. So I need to replenish the coffers. Harry's watching. Hey, Harry. And says, June just around the corner. Really? Is it? Is it? I guess anything's just around the corner with that mentality. But yeah, I don't want to think about that. We've got my next big thing after Tucson is we're going to have our first in-person art exhibition, and so I'm rusty, y'all. Used to be I would bang this stuff out. I'd get it done in a year in advance, and everything was lined up. And this year, it's a little bit tricky because I'm rusty since not doing having shows in the store for 3 years or however long. Suzanne says, "Are you taking the southern route?" Who knows? We don't know. I'm trying to be less fly by the seat of my pants, but old habits are hard to break. So we'll see probably the day before we leave. And really, it's contingent on weather. Um, yeah, because um, if some years there's terrible snowstorms, and if there's snowstorms, then we have to take the southern route. If it's not, then we just go directly across on 40 and head that way. We're not. I don't think we've lined up staying with anybody this year. I think it's a little bit, still a little bit weird to have people stay. You know, um, just drop in and visit. Um, so we didn't line up anybody to stop by and visit this year. Used to, we would line up. We would stop along the way and see friends, and it helped because it cut down on hotel bills significantly, which was nice. And it's always nice to like spend time with your people, right? But we didn't do that this year, so at least not yet. There's still time. There's still 2 weeks ish to line that up. Suzanne says, "I remember those lives." Yeah, those are some of my favorites actually, because they're kind of like off the cuff. When I joke around about going off script, those are like definitely off script. Those are like, okay, we'll see what we can see, and maybe we find something cool, maybe we don't. You know, I always like to have that kind of an adventure. Ronnie says, "Try to experience your trip through Azalea's eyes. You'll get the young vibe back again." Maybe. Um, I think that's a good idea, but I think she's tired too. She's grinding away in the garage and working, and she's pulling her weight just as much as all the adults. So, but yeah, it is nice to kind of share that. If we do take the southern route, I would love to stop in New Orleans because Azalea is like super into Anne Rice. I used to be super into Anne Rice too. Still am, I guess. And it'd be nice to like walk around and soak it all up. Facebook user says hello from Oregon. Hey, Facebook user. Barbara's watching. Hey, Barbara. If you didn't see Barbara, she just dropped a launch of little mini tiny paintings. So check those out. They're super cute, very colorful. I like them a lot. You did a good job. I'm very proud of you. All right. So yeah, we've talked a little bit. I'm super excited but exhausted. So once we get on the road, I'll be less exhausted. But for now, I'm just going to be perpetually like a zombie. I'm sure the people in North Carolina are going to be so excited for that. I'm going to be like pounding the Red Bull so that I'm semi-awake during that. Suzanne says, "My friend lives in the house the Mayfair Witches was filmed in." That's cool. I'm excited for that. That comes out, I think, this week, or maybe it already came out. I know we watched Interview with the Vampire, and then when that was over, I says, "Well, there's nothing. I don't have any interest in watching zombies all day." So we canceled AMC. So now that that show's back on, we'll have to get that. Marianne says, ahem, Azalea is an adult. Well, you know, the older adults, she is an adult. She just barely turned adult. In my mind, she's still baby time. Well, actually not, because we have good conversations. That's not baby time. Julie says, looking forward to meeting you in Tucson. I want to say we met before, but I could be making that up. I know you met Cynthia, but Facebook user says, I wonder why my name just showed Facebook user. Well, because we're using StreamYard, and so we're getting fed into from 3 different places. So we're getting fed in from the Allegory Gallery Facebook page, the Allegory Gallery YouTube channel, and the Great Bead Extravaganza group. And if you don't click the link periodically in the description of this video and register with StreamYard, then it will show up as Facebook user or YouTube user or whatever. But that is so that, and sometimes it logs people out. So I don't know, but yeah. Julie says first episode was Sunday. I think if we weren't so crazy busy getting ready for everything, I would jump on that right now and be like, William, guess what we're doing tonight? Maybe it will be like my treat. If I work real hard, I'll get to watch the show. Harry says, we just started watching The Mayfair Witches. Oh, good. Well, hope that the main actress, she's got the eyes of the main character, but the description in the book's different. So if you're like a purist, then I don't know. Like I felt like with Interview with a Vampire, even though it was really different, it kept in with the spirit of the books, and so that I enjoyed that. Anyways, let's do this project and get started. I know William, he's got like times and stuff where he's just like, we're going to talk for this amount of time and then we're going to do this thing. And maybe one day I'll grow up and do that too. But you just have to watch and until I start doing the project. So you'll see the ceiling for a second. You're used to this, most of y'all. Julie said The Witching Hour is my favorite book of all time. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. It's been a long time since I've read it. All 1,066 pages of it. I can't remember when I read that. It's probably been at least 20 years since I read it. But I liked it then. I was really into it. I was like plotting the map out and scoping it out. And some of the dolls that she talks about, they're in the town where our new building is in Johnstown. There's a hotel there, and the guy he acquired Anne Rice's doll collection, or at least part of it. But apparently you have to stay there to see them. Because Azalea came and we were like, let's go see the dolls today. And then we went and they're like, you have to have a reservation. And we're like, ugh. And it's kind of weird to get a reservation when you live close by. But maybe we'll have like a staycation, a creepy haunted staycation, and make the best of it. Harry says, I enjoy the movies and try not to compare with the books, different media. Yeah, I guess that's a good way of thinking about it. Sometimes it's hard, though, when you love something so hard and then the other media doesn't always live up to it. But that's life, right? All right, let me flip this around. All right, y'all. We're going to get our Valentine's Day on. Let me get rid of this. If you want, you can always go to allegorygallery.com. We have our online store. And if you get anything from there, that will help fund these fun videos and tutorials and will allow us to do our trips without getting super concerned about life. Um, all right, so for today's project, we're going to use 18 gauge wire. I've got some chain nose pliers. I've got some round nose pliers. And in theory, I have cutters, but they keep going missing. So I have these cutters, but their handles, we put duct tape on them so that people wouldn't steal them. And then the duct tape came off, and so the handle is sticky. And one of these days, I'm going to bring the Goo Gone and get rid of the sticky because then that sticky gets on your hands, and then you're like, why do I feel sticky and gross and grody all the time? And that's why. So we've got 18 gauge wire, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, cutters, and then we're going to need something to use as a mandrel. You can use almost anything. One thing that I would recommend is whatever you're using should be rigid and at least semi-rigid, mostly rigid, and empty. Because I've seen people try to do this with like cans of Coke, and then they're like flipping this around and doing stuff, and then they shake that up, and then they knock it on the edge of the table or trying to mess with it, and it busts everywhere and makes a huge mess. So if you're going to do this, try to do it with something that's not going to make a huge mess. And the other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to look for something that has a smooth edge and doesn't have a lip. Now this one has a lip on this edge, but on this edge it doesn't. So we can use this. This is an old-timey pill bottle. And it's nice and smooth. And the reason why you want something like this is because if you have something with a lip on it like this, when you go on both sides, if you go, or you're even a taper or a slight kind of raised kind of groove or whatever, then it's like a speed bump. It makes it tricky to get the wire component off of this. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to cut off approximately 10 inches or so of wire. This is 18 gauge bronze wire, but it could be any kind of wire really. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap this around my mandrel. Oh, and we're going to also need a Sharpie, y'all. I forgot to mention that. We're going to need a Sharpie, but that's later. All right. And then so we're just wrapping this around our mandrel like so. And then we're going to take this like this. So scientific, y'all. And with one hand, I'm going to hold this like so. And then the other, I actually have two chain nose pliers, y'all. I'm going to bend this up approximately an inch. All right. So you've got this loop like so, and I've got this bent up, and I'm going to keep this as close to this shape as possible. If it gets distorted, it's not the end of the world, y'all. The way that I do wire wrapping is very, how they call organic. And I'm not talking about like health food. I'm talking about it's kind of, if it's not perfectly machined ready, that's fine. Now I'm going to try to angle this so that the tip of this plier is close to where I've bent this up. See how I've got this? I've bent this up. And then I'm going to take my other pliers and I'm going to put this not close to the tip because the tip doesn't have as much surface area as down here. It has more surface area. So if you go by the tip, it's going to want to weeble wobble. But if you're closer down here, there's going to be more surface area the lower you get in the inside of the pliers, and that's going to help keep your wires stationary and not wobbling around and moving a lot, which is super helpful when you're wrapping around it. And then I'm going to use these. My other set of pliers to help wrap this around. Now I'm going to coil this around the wire, and this wire is not very soft. It's kind of rigid, which is good in some ways because it will hold its shape, but it's harder. All right, so before I get to the very end, you're going to see I've got this here. It's sticking up a little bit. And I'm going to position this where I'm kind of curving this inward, all right? And what that does is when I go to push this in and wrap this in, it's not going to stick out because it's going to curvature and it's going to conform to the shape of the wire. All right, y'all. All right, and then I'm just going to tuck this in. There you go. Easy peasy. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure in about another inch or so from this side. And I'm going to put my pliers like this. And I'm going to bend this up like that. Now, before I go and lock it down completely, I'm going to take this and go back to this. And it's still loose enough where if I need to adjust it and make it tighter, which I can make it tighter, I just pull it onto this like so. All right. And I very carefully take this and remember, put it into the jaws so it doesn't weeble wobble. And then this should be perpendicular to your circle. And then that is going to help it when you're wrapping it around, you're going to get a nicer coil and it's going to be more even and less wonkadoodle. And then I'm just going to keep coiling this around. So basically, I'm making a circle. And you all have seen me do this if you've been watching these countless times. Because I really like this. It's a useful shape. I use this all the time or I used to use it more. But in my other designs, if I need like a large hoop, then it's really easy to make this. All right, so here we go. We got my hoop here. So you can still, if you need to adjust it, you can still adjust it, but it's pretty even. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to precisely eyeball it, and I'm going to find the middle point of this, and kind of mark it. And then I'm going to go down here and make another mark. And you're going to be like, what's he doing? What's he doing? And I'm going to show you. So I'm finding my center point. So what I'm going to do here is I've got my center point. I'm going to try not to get it all over my fingers. And then I'm going to kind of bend it up. And I'm going to use slight motions. I'm not going to go heavy, whole hog, put my back into it just yet. I'm just going to gently encourage it to make this kind of shape. So you've got a teardrop now. And this is also a pretty fun shape as well. You could do, I mean, it's a little bit uneven, but that's fine. We can work with that. We can still make it work. I believe in you. Um, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wide angle part and kind of gently press it. And what I'm doing is I'm flattening out that curvature of the bottom part of the Valentine. All right, you don't want to go too far on some of those because some of those they have a cutter built in, and then you can just cut through the wire real fast. But I'm also not committing to this angle fully because if I work with this up here and I mess up, I can still kind of fudge it around and even it out later on. All right. And then what I'm doing here is I'm taking this and I'm bending this down and I'm pulling it up. I'm going to come over on this side. I'm going to do the same thing. And so we've got our little heart here. What do y'all think? Easy peasy. And at this point, I kind of like it. It's a wider heart. So you can leave it like this, or if you want, you can continue to bend it, and it will make it a longer kind of sharper heart. Now, if you want this to be super crisp, you can bend this in real tight and then bend it back out. And that's kind of like a fold forming technique where you bend the metal and then bend it out. But I don't want it to be super sharp. You could if you wanted to, but I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do it. And I do what I want. So there. All right. And if it's messed up, you can always tweak it and play around with it. Now, at this point, you're like, well, okay, done. That was quick. That was easy. Well, I actually have to go pretty soon. But at this point, you have some options here. Now, if you're happy with your shape and you don't want it to bend around, because this is still relatively flexible, even though we've been working with it, it's still relatively bendy. If you want to take the bendy out, put this on some wood and then get your rawhide mallet and then just tap it down. And you want to use a rawhide mallet or a nylon hammer or a plastic hammer. You don't want to use a Delrin hammer because Delrin is actually pretty hard, and you can chew up your wire hitting it. But what that does is it work hardens it. And you may be wondering why I said do it on a piece of wood as opposed to a steel bench block. I love my steel bench block, but what happens when you do that is it will start shaping the wire from below. So the wood, it cushions it. Now, if you're going to do it on wood, don't do it on your table or whatever. Your antique uh, hope chest or whatever. You want to get a piece of scrap wood that you don't really care about because it will ding up and dent up the wood. But what that's doing is it's providing a cushion for your project. All right. So once you have that done, and you've got this frame, the sky's the limit. You could easily add two pieces of chain or one piece of chain and make a kind of a heart shape like this. You could have a hoop earring style, just put an ear wire and can hang asymmetrically. What I'm going to do, since this is basically a blank canvas, is I'm going to get some finer wire. This is 24 gauge brass wire. And I'm going to cut off maybe 20 inches or so of this. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to come here at the very tip and I'm going to make a little hook. All right, just a little hook. And then I'm going to find a point on here. I'm going to use that little hook. And then I'm going to take my chain nose pliers or the needle nose pliers, and I'm going to go and I'm going to wrap this around and coil it around. I'm not flicking y'all off, even though it looks like it. I am keeping the wire out of the way. So if you see that, don't get mortally offended. It doesn't mean that. I just don't want this to get tangled up. All right. And then I'm just going to coil this gently. I see a couple new folks have tuned in. Joanne's watching, Barbara's watching, Bonnie's watching. Howdy, y'all. Joanne says it's the North Carolina Gala meet. Well, I'm going to North Carolina in like a day. We're going to Greenville, North Carolina. I'm going to be going for the ECU, Eastern Carolina University Materials Topic Symposium. All right. So I've got this wire, this 24 gauge wire, and I've got my bead frame. In theory, I work hard in this. I didn't actually work hard in this one. I made a sample, but I don't know where it is. So we're just going to pretend like I did it, which I didn't do it, but we're going to pretend. All right. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some beads. I got these pinch beads. I like these pinch beads. These were, oh, I guess I'm not using that pinch bead. I dropped it on the floor. I don't want to put anything too big. But I also don't want it to be too small because we're going to be here forever then. And I'm going to string this on. And I'm going to put this close to the frame. And then I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. Now, the trick about this is it's not really, I mean, you can see people doing this all the time now. I remember when nobody did this, but the trick is not to kink up your wire a lot. Because if you kink up your wire, wire has a memory, and you don't want to work hard in your wire too much, because if you work hard in your wire, it will get stiffer and stiffer, and then eventually it will break, and you can snap a wire, especially when it's a thinner wire. So the trick is not to work it too much. So if you want to channel your inner Missy Elliott and you want to work it, just do something else, because you want to work with this as little as possible, so you don't work hard in your wire to the point where it snaps. And then you just continue adding the beads around the frame. And I'm using these pinch beads, these check glass pinch beads, because they're a 3-sided bead and they nestle really nicely to the bead frame. All right. So I think it's one of those things where it's nice because then it's not all wobbly all the time. Sometimes you can use like a rounded bead and it works fine. But sometimes it kind of moves around. This, for the most part, stays put. And it's a nice way to add a little bit of sparkle or color in your wire work. So if you have a plain kind of element, kind of like this, then it just embellishes it just a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more fancy. All right, so you have a couple options here. I've reached this point, the point of my Valentine's heart. And also, if you didn't see what I just did, is this coil was kind of far apart. So I just took my thumbnail and pushed it back in. This brass wire, this 24 gauge brass wire is relatively soft. So I can do that. I don't have to, it's not super rigid. All right. So I have some options. I can either, I can chop it and wrap it and finish it, and then have the other side, which is going to be two pieces of wire instead of one, or I can just keep wrapping this around, um, and then I'm not going to have to cut it. Now, you see what I mean by it's important to work hard in your bead frame. I didn't work hard on my bead frame, um, and it's getting wobbly a little bit. Where the more that I kind of start wrapping the wire, the more it distorts my bead frame. So just be careful with that, you know. And I'm just gonna wrap because I don't want to cut. But in theory, you could easily cut it and it wouldn't be a problem. So I'm wrapping a little bit more, but I think that's fine. Adds a little decorative element on there. And then I'm just going to continue all the way around. And then if you didn't want to have your heart be studded like this on the outside, you could do this on the inside. You can do clear beads in there, or transparent beads, and kind of build up like a framework inside of there. Um, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of like you're making your own kind of stained glass. Um, and when you're doing that, if you build it up the first row or however many you want, then you just, whenever you go in to wrap this in, and build up the second layer, you would just tie that in and wrap it into the previous row. And you can build up some really cool kind of, uh, it'd be a filled heart as opposed to a studded heart. But I kind of dig this look. Of course I do. I mean, if you've watched any of my wire projects like this, basically I'm just going to make gold and clear things until the end of time. But we've got a project and you can do stuff like this, and then you just have everything will coordinate and mix and match. Um, Everything's gold pearls, y'all. What it really is that I don't like to hunt around too much and like um, open up new strands when I have stuff already open, you know. Kimberly says, good to know how user friendly the check pinch beads are. I collected a few to use in a different project, so I'll try this out. Thanks. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that inspired you to use these pinch beads. I like the pinch beads. For a while, you couldn't get them, um, and I had a rep come into the store, and they're like, "Oh, you have pinch beads." And they were trying to buy them off of me, and I was like, I'm not gonna, if they're as hard to come by as you say they are, I'm not gonna sell them off for what I paid for so that you can sell them for more to somebody else. um but you know, anyways, I think they made a comeback because they were available fairly recently. But then again, some of the Czech glass distributors are no longer in business, so the pandemic took them out. So it's getting, you know, the supply chains are getting kind of tricky these days. We used to have people who would come by the store and they would stop, like traveling salesman kind of style. And now they're retired, you know. Got too hard when all the stores are struggling and they're like, oh, well, I could just stay home and put stuff on Etsy, I guess. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to keep going. I'm almost done. Suzanne says 3 minutes to 6. All right, I'm almost finished, y'all. I can finish it. The meeting starts at 6:15, so I have enough time to go over into the other room and get situated. But thank you for keeping me on track. All right, so I've got this last bead that I'm going to do. And in theory, I probably could have started this up higher and got this done. One of the nice things about this is that it's a kind of a versatile um, project where it's really easy, but it looks like you spent way more time than it looks. So we've got this. William says, I just got home as well. I'll get the meeting started if needed. I'm pretty almost done. So if you wanted to, you can continue this around if you want. So that kind of has like a scallopy edge to it. And then to finish it off, you can take these jump rings and put them, you can put 2 on either side and have it be a focal. Or you can do it where, it can hang off to the side. Though when it hangs off to the side like that, I kind of don't know what it like it doesn't instantly read to me as a heart. It kind of almost reads to me like a Pac-Man or something. So usually whenever I see that, I'm like, what is that? So I generally try to keep this fairly balanced, and then that way, um, you know, you can tell what it is. All right. So I'm just going to trim this with my very fancy cutters wrapped in paper towel. And I'm going to take, and before I'm done, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to tighten up this last coil because that's what's going to hold that in place. That's going to lock it in place. And if it's weeble wobbledy, then it's going to come undone and it's going to get snagged on stuff. And then it's going to be unfortunate when you're picking beads off the ground. If you need to before, you could always I kind of eyeballed it. But if you need to like pull them up or down, you have a little bit of leeway because these are basically springs, so they can expand or contract. But you know, it's up to you. They're kind of even-ish, which means they're not even. Like this is way higher than this one. But I'm gonna pretend like it's even and put my finger like this so that you think it's even, but it's really not that even. But that's all right. And when you're not doing it on camera, you can eyeball it a little bit closer and it'll be more even. Or it will just have a lot of character like this one. Now, the other thing you can do is if you don't like the way this turned out, you can always add more. When I did this project, which is basically the same thing, I just kept adding more and more. And that's a way you can stud this bangle. So you can have that like that. But if you wanted to add more, you could definitely add another row. The thing is that it won't be as light and kind of airy looking. It'll kind of get gummed up, and that could be the look you're going for. But if you want it to have this kind of crisper shape, you're going to want to keep that. But I think this is a fun, easy, you don't actually have to think too hard about it kind of project. And basically, we did the other project, but we just put some bends in it. And there you go. Diane says, hope to find you guys in Tucson. Looking forward to the shows. Yeah, if you look on our Facebook page, we've listed at least one of the major shows that we're going to, but we're doing 3 different shows and we're going to be there for 10 days. Um, so you'll see us there, hopefully. And like I said earlier, if I'm not really a touchy feely person to begin with, but I'm gonna have a thing and it's gonna be like no hugging, and then I'm gonna have like a stick, and then I can like push people away with my stick because I get sick easy anyway, let alone when there's like a gajillion people around all touching each other. Um, and somebody was like, "I'm gonna kiss your face so hard," and I was like, "No, you're not." But anyways, so if I kind of shy away from human contact, it's not because I don't like you, it's because I don't want to get sick. Um, and I always get sick in Tucson. And I'm not jinxing myself. It's just it is what it is, and so I don't want to get sick this time. Um, because I have stuff to do, y'all. So tomorrow, to probably tomorrow, I'll have the new paintings. There's 8 new paintings that are coming out, and that will kind of finish up the portraits from the other side, at least for now. And then I will be working on stuff to sell in Tucson. So yeah, and I'm working on some really cool things for ECU, the ECU symposium, but you'll just have to wait and see whatever if I finish those or not. I kind of don't want to tell everything that I'm working on because if I don't get it done, then all I'm going to hear the whole time in Tucson is, "Where's this? I thought you were working on this." And then I was like, "Well, I didn't finish it." And then people are like, "Well, I'm not going to buy anything because I had my heart set on that one specific thing out of all of the hundreds of other things on your table." And so, anyways, it's called managing people's expectations, and hopefully I don't disappoint people. Anyways, I gotta go, y'all. I'm not gonna flip the camera around because apparently it takes me like 10 minutes to flip the camera around. So I'm just going to say goodbye. And William will be back tomorrow with something fun, hopefully the paintings, if I can finish them. There's at least one that's finished that he didn't show you last night, but there are 8 that I'm almost done with. And I've been working, and hopefully you all like them. All right. Have a great night.